Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm DJ Leandro, and today we're diving into a very essential tool that you could use within your mixing as well as your mastering chain, and that is the limiter. Whether you're producing house, techno, pop, or anything in between, a limiter is key to getting loud, polished, and a clean final mix. So let's explore how the stock limiter plugin in Cubase works and how you can use it effectively, both for mixing as well as some creative sound design ideas as well. Okay, so before we get started, what exactly is a limiter? A limiter is a type of compressor with a very high ratio. Basically, it stops any audio from going over a certain threshold. Think of it a lot like a ceiling. Nothing can go above it. It's perfect for controlling peaks, preventing distortion, and increasing loudness in a safe and transparent way. Okay, so in Cubase, we have three different limiters that we get as standard plugins within Cubase. Let's look at each of these individually. The first one that we get is called just the standard limiter that you can find here. The second one that you get is the BRICKWALL limiter. And then the third is the razor. We're going to look at these all individually, and we're going to go through the controls of each of them step by step, as well as going through examples on how you can use them. So let's now look at the standard limiter from Cubase. Okay, this is a great limiter that's quick for limiting on, let's say, buses or groups, and even in some cases can be used for mastering. So let's look at the controls. So the first one you're going to get is your input, which is over here. This boosts the signal before it does its limiting. Then we're going to get our output, which is the ceiling, as I mentioned before. This sets the maximum output level. And then lastly, we're going to get the release in the middle here. This controls how fast you want the limiter to back off. Okay, so before we start using it, I'm going to have a bit of an example here so you can see what we are working with. So like here, I have a drum loop. And I've processed that. I've got some compression on it, as you can see here. So let's have a listen to our drum loop before we add the limiter. Okay, so as you can hear, that is our drum loop. Now I'm going to bring in the limiter, and let's have a listen to it now. Okay, now as you can see, our limiter is not being hit enough, so I'm going to drop the threshold, increase the input. And let's decrease the release, make a bit of a quick release. As you can see, we're just shaving just a little bit off the top. So this is with it on. Okay, now it's off. And that's it. It's nice and subtle, just to chop off a little bit off from the top end. Okay, now we're going to look at our second limiter, which is the BRICKWALL limiter over here. So now let's look at the controls. Okay, the threshold, as in the previous example, this sets the level at which the limiting is going to kick in. Then we've got our release over here. This is going to control how long you want the effect to last after it's triggered. Okay. Then we've got our detect intersample clipping, which means that anything goes over it, it's going to stop immediately once that is activated. So we're going to keep this on for now. And then the linking is with regards to your left and right signals. So they're going to be together. Okay, so now let's look at an example while we use this. Let's turn it on. Drop our threshold. Increase our release a little bit. Okay, now let's turn it off. Again, very subtle, but of course you can get more extreme with it. So for argument's sake, if we had to drop the threshold, increase the release. Okay, let's turn it off. See, so in this case, as you can hear, we are actually cramping it down a lot. As the name suggests, we are limiting everything within this group track that I've got. Okay, now let's go to our third and final limiter, which is the razor. Okay, now here are the controls, very similar to before. Okay, so let's have a look at the controls now. Okay, here's our input, which as we have before, it's basically sending your signal to before it gets pushed through the limiter. And then the ceiling is very similar to, it is basically our threshold where we want to make our maximum or output volume. Again, it's got the intersample clipping. And then what's very unique about this specific limiter is the release. As you can see, here are our options. You'll click here and you see you've got manual, you've got auto, and we've got also a very aggressive mix. This is going to set a very sharp knee with regards to our limiting. And then here is also our time, which we can change however we like. And then you'll find in the middle here, this is our user interface, which is actually going to analyze each of the, basically the signal that gets sent through it. We actually get to see it visually. Okay, so let's turn this on. I'm going to keep everything down to 0, and now we can have a listen. Okay, we're going to increase the gain. Now I'm going to drop the ceiling. And now I'm going to make this an aggressive release. Now, as you can see here, the orange markers here, this is where we are limiting, which you can also hear by the gain reduction over here. So in this case, if we're going to make it more extreme, and we have to change it to, let's say, auto. Okay, now we're going to take it back to aggressive. Okay, this is with it on. Let's turn it off. As you can hear, the riser can be a bit more impactful as opposed to the other limiters that we have. With that being, we can actually tune it a little bit more and you get more freedom with using it. Okay, so now that we've got that, also one last tip before we're going to get into our other practical examples that you could use is always check your output with a level meter or loudness meter when using a limiter. That way you're going to know exactly how much you can trim or how much you want to trim from it. Okay, so there are a few practical examples that we can use limiters. In this case, I showed you how to use it on a drum bus, but it's not limited to just that. You could use it on anything, but it is predominantly used on, let's say, drum buses or, let's say, instrument buses or vocals, just to chop off a little bit of the top end. But you could use it on anything. If you're finding a sound, let's say, within your bass, you've got a bass track, and let's say there are some peaks that you want to just even out a bit, or let's say they are peaking in certain parts, no problems. Add a limiter and you'll be good to go. Some cool creative sound design techniques that we could use, which I've used in a previous example. We can actually use it as a parallel compressor. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. So very simple. Here's our drum bass. As I've shown in a previous video, which I'll find in the link, I'll put that up right now. Very simple. We can right click here, add effect track to send 1. And then now we're going to find our limiter. Let's say we're going to use BRICKWALL limiter. Okay, and we're going to call this, let's say, our parallel compressor. Parallel compressor. Apologies for the terrible handwriting. There we go. And then we're going to put this to pre-fade. And now let's have a listen. I'll bring this one down. Okay, now I'm going to completely squash the signal. And then what we can do is we can bring it in slowly with our drum bass. So let's say we have this at 0, and now I'm going to bring my parallel compressor. Now pay attention here to our meter. As you can see what's going on, we're hitting just about a close to -2 dB. Once I bring this up, we've just increased about, let's say, 1 to 1.5 dBs, but we are getting a bit of clarity. So yeah, that's another cool technique that you could use with your limiter as well. We can use it also as a parallel compressor. Okay, yeah, and that's about it. That is the limiter in Cubase. Whether you're controlling peaks, boosting loudness, or getting creative with, let's say, in this case, some parallel compression, it's a quite very powerful tool that is often very underrated. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit a like and subscribe to the channel, and check out my other videos on reverb, delay, chorus phaser, and much more. Leave a comment below if you have any questions or you want to see any specific plugin in action. I'm DJ Leandro, and thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.